Chevy just did something nobody expected. They brought back the 350. Not a nickname, not a marketing trick, an actual 5.7-liter V8 in the brand new 2027 Silverado 1500. And if you grew up around Chevy trucks, you already know why that number hits different. Think about what 350 has always meant to truck people. Square body pickups, OBS trucks, weekend garage projects, that deep, small block rumble that made Chevys feel like they'd run forever. It was the engine guys talked about at the pump, on the job site, in every driveway in this country. And now, after almost 3 decades of being absent from the Silverado lineup, it's making a comeback. Here's the real headline out of the 2027 Silverado. Chevrolet is retiring both the 5.3-liter V8 and the 6.2-liter V8, the two engines that have anchored this truck for years. In their place comes a completely new small block family. The star of the show is that 5.7-liter, which works out to 350 cubic inches, exactly like the legends before it. But Chevy didn't stop there. They're also rolling out a bigger 6.6-liter V8 to sit above it. Add in a redesigned exterior, a heavily reworked interior with a massive passenger screen, and an off-road lineup that's leaning further into lifted truck culture than ever, and you're looking at way more than a mid-cycle refresh. This is a full reset for one of the most important trucks in America. Losing the 5.3 was a genuinely big deal. That engine carried the Silverado for roughly 25 years. It wasn't just an engine option. For a lot of buyers, it basically was the Silverado. It hauled trailers, ran job sites, moved families, and became one of the most familiar V8s on American roads. When word first started spreading that Chevrolet was walking away from the 5.3, it honestly felt like the closing of a whole era for the brand, because that motor had quietly become the default heartbeat under the hood of millions of these trucks. Replacing something with that kind of track record is risky, so instead of playing it safe with a smaller turbo motor or going electric, Chevy swung the other way entirely. They dug into their own back catalog and pulled out one of the most legendary displacements the brand has ever produced. Now, don't get it twisted. This new 5.7 is not the carbureted or throttle body small block out of an old K1500 or a 90s GMT 400. It's a ground-up, modern V8 engineered for today's Silverado. But the number still matters. The name still matters. The history still matters. Chevrolet has said outright that this engine is meant to honor the small block's legacy, and that tells you everything about the strategy here. This isn't just a spec sheet update, it's a nostalgia move, a statement about identity, and proof that Chevy still understands exactly what its truck buyers respond to. The 6.6-liter replacing the outgoing 6.2 is just as significant, especially since the 6.2 has been the flagship gas engine in this truck for a long stretch. Chevrolet hasn't published horsepower or torque figures for either new engine yet, which is honestly the most frustrating part of this whole announcement, because those numbers will decide how big of an actual upgrade this is. What we do know is both engines picked up roughly 0.4 of a liter over what they're replacing. That kind of growth usually points towards stronger low-end torque, better towing manners, and that classic V8 pulling power truck owners have always wanted. Chevy's own language talks about gains in both power and torque, giving buyers more choice without giving anything up. If they've actually managed to blend that old-school V8 feel with modern efficiency and clean emissions, this new Silverado lineup could turn into one of the most compelling V8 trucks you can buy. Don't assume this is an all-V8 lineup, though. The 2.7-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder isn't going anywhere, and Chevy says it's been improved for 2027. That engine has always split opinion, since it's an unusually large 4-cylinder tasked with powering a full-size pickup, and plenty of traditional buyers still aren't fully sold on that idea. Still, it's earned its spot thanks to real-world torque and everyday usability. The biggest change here is that the 2.7 turbo now pairs with a 10-speed automatic instead of the old 8-speed, which should sharpen both performance and overall drivability, and likely make the whole package feel more polished day to day. The 3.0-liter turbo diesel sticks around too, rounding out a lineup that lets buyers choose based on towing needs, fuel economy, long highway hauls, or that classic V8 character. So while the 350's return is grabbing all the attention, the actual engine lineup for 2027 is more varied than it's ever been. Off-road buyers are getting serious attention too. Chevrolet is pointing out that 3 of the Silverado's 7 total trims come lifted from the factory: the ZR2, the Trail Boss, and the Custom Trail Boss. That's a clear read on where the market's headed. Full-size trucks aren't just work vehicles or highway haulers anymore. Buyers want aggressive stance, factory lift, real off-road hardware, and tires that look ready for the trail, even if that truck never leaves the suburbs. Leading that charge is the Silverado ZR2, riding on 35-inch tires with a 2-inch lift and a unique off-road hood for a more aggressive look. It comes standard with front and rear locking differentials and Multimatic DSSV dampers, still among the most capable suspension setups you'll find on a factory off-road truck. Just below it sit the Trail Boss and Custom Trail Boss, both with that same 2-inch lift, but running slightly smaller 34-inch tires. The Custom Trail Boss is the more affordable entry into that lifted look, while the standard Trail Boss splits the difference between rugged capability and daily comfort. Chevrolet clearly sees these off-road trims as central to the brand now, not some side project. It's a shift that mirrors what's happening across the entire truck market, where buyers increasingly want that adventurous, ready-for-anything appearance, even if the truck mostly handles school runs and grocery trips. Chevy leaning this hard into 3 separate lifted trims out of just 7 total shows how much weight that off-road image now carries in the full-size segment. Step inside, and the change is just as dramatic, especially in the higher trims, like the High Country, which now sits at the top of the lineup. Chevy went for a noticeably more premium, tech-forward cabin that matches what buyers expect from a pickup at this price point. Screens dominate the dash: a 16.3-inch center touchscreen, a 12.2-inch digital instrument cluster, and an 11.5-inch display just for the passenger. That's an enormous amount of screen space for a truck cabin, and it completely changes how the interior feels. Whether that much screen holds up over the years is a fair question, but right now it makes the Silverado feel genuinely modern and upscale. The High Country in particular blends nicer materials with the truck's sharper, more angular exterior styling. And for buyers who'd rather skip all that, the work truck trim is still there, steel wheels and all, proving not every version needs to be loaded with leather and glass to be appealing. There's still something honest and appealing about a bare-bones work truck in a lineup that's leaning more and more toward luxury. And Chevy keeping that option alive shows they haven't forgotten the buyers who just want a simple, dependable pickup. Underneath, the 2027 Silverado rides on the T1XX platform, an evolution of the outgoing truck's T1 architecture rather than a total ground-up redesign. That's likely the smarter call. The styling looks fresh, sharper, more angular, more current, without losing what makes it recognizably a Silverado. The architecture stays proven while Chevy focuses its updates where they actually matter most: engines, technology, trim strategy, and interior quality. That's really what makes this truck worth paying attention to. It's not riding on a single headline. Yes, the 350's comeback is the emotional hook, and it's exactly the kind of move that gets longtime Chevy fans fired up. But there's also a new 6.6-liter V8, an upgraded Turbo 4 and diesel, a stronger off-road identity, a genuinely modern interior, and styling that moves forward without abandoning its roots. The old 5.3 defined this truck for almost 3 decades, and that chapter has closed. Now Chevrolet is betting its future on a name pulled straight from its past. And if this new 350-powered Silverado delivers the sound, the torque, and the character truck buyers have been craving, Chevy might have just pulled off one of the best comebacks in the full-size truck world. For a lot of longtime loyal fans watching this all unfold closely, this is the kind of announcement they genuinely never thought they would actually see happen.